Hey, everybody, welcome to Hollywood Live. By now, you have probably heard that a lot of people here are on strike, the writers, the actors. What is it all about? It's about artificial intelligence. My guest today, Jeff Pedowitz, is an expert in this area, and we're going to be talking about what we need to do to protect ourselves as human beings. Jeff, welcome to Hollywood Live. How are you?
Oh, it's great. Thank you for having me on the program, Tanya.
Absolutely. Okay, let's just get right into it. Have we reached the time in history where actually human beings are all going to be threatened by artificial intelligence? It doesn't matter what business you're in.
Well, I think threat's a strong word. And I'm sure the easiest thing to be say, yes, everybody run for the hills. AI is taking over. It makes for a great story and a headline. But the reality is it's really somewhere in the middle. Like every great technology, it helps society move forward in time. I mean, think about our mobile devices, right? We've only had these for about 16 years.
Yeah.
The internet is only 30 some odd years old. So all these things we take for granted today, social media, waving our hands around the bank and sending money and doing all these things are very, very recent phenomena. And AI, in fact, has been around for a long time. It was really first invented back with Alan Turing back in the 40s and 50s. And then there have been applications in some of our most popular software for years. It's just that with ChatGPT and the large language models, it has become ubiquitous because for many of us, we could see it, we could touch it, we can interact with it for the first time. And it's conversational. And that is the ultimate user interface when we could just talk with each other. That's how we were way back in the day before there was entertainment, there was campfires, we told each other stories. That's just how we're wired. But look, like every great technology, certain jobs will change or get eliminated. That is true. But so many more jobs will get created. And we're just at the beginning of a new dawn of innovation.
Well, all that being said, the studios known as, and I always have to read this because they're just, let's see, it's the Motion Picture and Television Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers that everybody is striking against. They see AI as an essential part of business moving forward. Basically, the actors and the writers are saying, you cannot replace us with human beings. I mean, and they're using that language from what I understand. Human beings is very important in all the language moving forward here. So who's going to win this fight and what are some of the big issues?
Well, I think it's not about winning or losing, because I think if both sides don't figure out how to compromise, really the industry loses. And we as fans, apathy sets in and we look for other ways to entertain ourselves. We start to check out, we disengage, and that could be the worst crime of all. And that affects everyone, not just the actors and the writers and the producers, but all the hardworking men and women that are behind the scenes making these productions a reality. This is a case where both sides have valid points. The industry's changed a lot, especially with COVID. Revenue models have changed. Studios have lost money. They've bet big on streaming, in part because we as a society want it and we need it. But streaming has not been able to be monetized the same way as traditional entertainment was. So the studios are trying to figure out how to lower costs while still put on good production quality. And as artists, whether you're a filmmaker, a director, an actor, a writer, or anybody that contributes to the process, you want to know that you're getting accredited, paid fairly for your work, and that you're not going to be replaced. What should happen is it really shouldn't replace as much as augment. It's powerful tools and powerful software. It can help both dreams come true. It can help the studios reduce costs, streamline production planning, and really lower a lot of the auxiliary costs of putting on a modern production. It could also help augment the writing process. It can help augment directing, lighting, costume creation, and every job in front of or behind the camera, AI can augment, but it should not replace.
Right. When you say augment, what do you mean? Like we have, for instance, I'm talking to you right now. I have a very distinct voice, so I'm told. Sounds the same to me all my life, but I'm told that. And right now, as we're speaking, there are companies that are contacting people like me and saying, let us get your voice now. and then we'll give you a percentage of what we're going to do with your voice later. And of course, the unions are telling all of us, don't do that. But I'm just saying, so what does that mean for someone like me? They could take my voice right now, and where are they going to put it, and what's going to happen down the line?
Well, that is true. The capability exists now to actually take your voice as well as your likeness and your image and produce something. I wouldn't say letter perfect, but in more, not your normal radio show where you're highly interactive, but if you were doing something drier, like reading the news or something like that, it would be highly passable for some, and the technology is getting better. I think this is a case of, that's a step in the right direction, that they're willing to compensate you. That they're going to pay you for your unique voice, your unique likeness. I think what has to happen, though, is clarity around contractual terms. What does that mean to be used in the future? Right. How often? Look, we have a pretty locked down royalty syndication program that's been developed for years, and it's worked very well. We all know, okay, my show appears this many times, I had this role, I get this amount, the check comes in the mail, no problem. I think now, because of streaming and some of these latest developments, nobody knows how to measure that, so we have to figure it out. But look, this isn't really that much different than Napster and what it did to the music industry back in 2000. And at first, even the record labels were freaking out. They thought this was Armageddon for the music industry, and everybody got together, and lo and behold, they're making more money now than ever before. And multiple artists now have a vehicle to get to their fans that they never had before with the way it was. And so I think we have to embrace this change and work together. Look, I'm not on the front lines. I see the same headlines that you do. I don't know what's actually happening, if they're negotiating, if they're not negotiating. So it would just be pure speculation. But what I do know is that we as society tend to fear the things we don't understand and the things that are new. And once we start to learn them and understand them and see the benefits of how it can help us, we have proven time and time again, we will trade privacy for convenience. For all the talk that we talk about, oh, it's my data, big government. Please, we're throwing stuff out all the time, and people are sharing financial transactions on Venmo. Like, I pay this person. So I think if we feel it benefits us, we'll do it.
Well, it's interesting you would say that about Napster, because I've been thinking about that a lot, because I've worked in the music business for many, many years as well. And I remember, that was a big crisis. And it's amazing to me, and I don't know if any of the unions and the studios have actually looked at that model to say, oh, this did kind of happen before, especially for the streaming.
I hope though. One thing I know for sure, many of the agents that represent the talent also represent the talent in the music industry. So they have to have a frame of reference. But again, I don't know for sure, because I don't know what kind of discussions they're having behind the scenes, but sure, that would make a lot of sense to tap into some and get some lessons from models that they developed before.
Right. Now, when we look at business, though, we do know that all businesses in the world, big corporations, are now looking at artificial intelligence. They know that if they're not using it, their business won't succeed. That's where everybody is now, big corporations.
That is an absolute truth. It's just something where you have a little bit of time, but not much time. The train has left the station. Yes, you don't have to have it all figured out, because nobody does. And if they tell you that they have, they're lying, because it's changing that fast. But you're embracing it, you're experimenting, you're educating your employees, you're figuring out where and how you can apply it in a pragmatic way. And the same thing should happen in the entertainment industry. Look, think about all of the innovations we have today that we didn't even have 30 or 40 years ago. My wife's grandfather was an editor in Hollywood, and he did it the old-fashioned way. He spliced it and taped it and did all this stuff. And today, of course, with rare exception, all the editing is digital. We didn't have CGI back then. We had to do effects the old-fashioned way. Camera techniques, lighting, costume design, production, green screen. Think about all the innovations that have happened in the industry, and good innovations where artists can bring this to life. And look, at the end of the day, the AI software, yes, it's incredibly powerful, and it can calculate things at warp speed, but it's not a human being. It can't in and of itself create, feel, love. It doesn't understand context, Could you ask it to analyze the last 10 scripts and come up with something at first glance that's passable? Sure. But it's not going to be able to interpret the director's coaching words. It's not going to be able to play off the other actors, deliver a unique scene, to engage and connect with the audience. That is something that is truly human.
I get that, but I'm not sure that the people who are in business do, because they're not creative. They don't care about those things. They just care about the bottom line. That's the problem. So, if it's not human, I mean, at some point, maybe they're assuming, well, the audiences won't know this. They're not going to care. They just want to see something. That's the mindset. I think that's the problem that we're looking at here.
Well, with respect, I think that's an overgeneralization of the studios. Look, I think every business is in business to try and make money. Even nonprofits have to make money so they can function. So I don't begrudge studio heads from doing that. I think it would be too easy to say that they don't care about creative, or they don't care about their brand, or they don't care about the audience experience. But they do have a business to run, and they have to make trade-offs, and they have to understand where they can invest and where not to. I mean, look, the reality is right now, for the first couple of months, the strike's doing the studios a favor, because they're actually saving money in the short term by not having the overhead of running the lots. But over time, and not that long, it will start to equalize, where when you get to a good negotiation is when both sides really have something invested to lose. So the longer this goes on, the more they're going to be compelled to get to the table and work something out, because this isn't helping anyone over the long haul.
No, it really is not. You have a book out, and tell me the title, because I don't have it in front of me, and I should, but
it's called AI Revenue Architect, and it's about building a time machine for scalable revenue.
Right. And so again, this is the way of the world now, because like you said, business has to continue, and they've got to make money, because that's what it's all about. That's what capitalism is about. Where do you see us 5 years from now? Hopefully the strike will be over. All the strikes will be over. We'll actually be negotiating the next contract, probably. But in terms of business in America, and I want to add some little bit to this, deep learning. How does deep learning fit into this, and what exactly is that?
So deep learning is really the ability for the machines to constantly draw more and more on the data that's being fed, so it gets smarter and better all the time. So the more that's being fed into the machines, the better output it can produce. In terms of where we're going to be 5 years from now, I expect AI to be fully integrated with every fabric of the industry, much like our mobile devices are part of us today. Data is everywhere, and we're going to use it to deliver better experiences for the fans and for the customer. Entertainment will continue to get more immersive. I know that the experiment by Meta didn't really exactly hit the mark in terms of not everybody wanting to wear headsets, but I believe that technology will continue to evolve to the point that within a couple of years, I think we as fans will be able to interact with our stars inside the show. I think we'll be able to choose our own ending. I think artists will be able to bypass the studios and bring their own productions to market, very much like SoundCloud is today. Now, there are, of course, as you know, there's thousands of indie productions today, and there are students shooting film on their iPhones now. But I think that AI and software built around AI will give these talented artists more opportunities and more forums for them to get to their fans directly to market. Not everything will need to go to the studio. I think the streaming model will continue to evolve. I think that it will get more transparent so that people can figure out how to truly monetize and personalize the experience that we get when we engage. And I think we're going to just see new forms of entertainment, where we can continue to tell great stories, and we can continue to delight and our fans. And AI is going to be a very big part of that.
Okay, well, Jeff Pedowitz, we thank you for your interesting perspective on this and your knowledge about all of this. And you're probably right on spot, I'm pretty sure. And in fact, just so you know, I had some students, probably 5 years ago, and they already had the technology to change the ending on their student films. Mm-hmm. And they were doing that. So you could pick out any ending you want. And now that technology has just expanded. So You're absolutely right. We're in for an interesting run here.
That
in
is
the
for sure, Tanya.
Interesting. Jeff, thank you so much. Come back anytime. We'll have you back after the strike, maybe.
All right, sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, you take care. Everybody else out there, thank you for joining us. As always, let us know what you think about this show, and whatever you do, be good to yourself and somebody else. Have a great day.